Interview here, Chiro Gold interview, and today I am joined with Dr. Peter Kevorkian, who has been a friend of mine for a long time. I actually did my externship with him 18 years ago now.
Oh my God.
I know. It's
18 years, seems like yesterday. Damn.
It does. It's crazy.
Damn.
18 years. Yep. So just a little background for those of you who maybe haven't heard Peter speak before or had the privilege of hearing him speak. Just a few of the things that he's involved with right now. He is a teacher and president of the ICPA, chairman of the board for Sherman Chiropractic School. He and his wife have also created an awesome philosophy meeting that gets together once a month at his house. It's called the Massachusetts Alliance for Chiropractic Philosophy. And I don't know, what do you have? Usually 30, 40 people at that each month?
Yeah, actually we had like 50 people this past month.
50.
This past week.
That's awesome.
I believe this is accurate, the longest continually running philosophy group in the world. We've been doing it once since the early 80s, actually. It's about 1984, I believe, when we started it, and it's been in my home office since 1991.
That's awesome. And I've attended several of those. That's a great thing. And then also, in his spare time, they see 850 to 900 people a week in their office when they, aren't doing all those other things. And so that's one of the reasons why, there's a lot of reasons why I admire and respect Peter and his wife, Patty, but they walk the talk. And so I think it's very important that we can listen to people like Peter and gain some knowledge and learn some things, because he's doing it. He's doing a lot of ways, and the guy is just tireless. He just keeps going and going and going. And so that's why we have him on today. And so, Peter, I just thought what would be cool is if we could just start with talking about your office. And, it's a unique thing. So maybe just share with people a little bit about your office and the home office atmosphere, all of that, and just what you kind of try to create there with your office.
So when Pat and I started in practice, we wanted a home practice. Now, home practice is really, really common in the Northeast. So when I was growing up in the Boston area, lots of times I would go see a doctor or a business. It was in their home. So it's a really common thing in the Northeastern United States. You see them in different localities. They're virtually non-existent, I think, on the West Coast. So if you think home office, some people say, why would you do it in your house? It's actually awesome.
Yeah.
When I want people to feel that chiropractic isn't just a job. It is my life. It is our life. And there's no better way to model that other than having it be an intimate part of your family, an intimate part of your life experience.
Yeah.
Some people ask, do you feel your boundaries are being violated? I gotta say, I've been doing the gig 35 years, and I can count on one hand the number of times somebody's come up to the door, rung the doorbell, and says, I need to get adjusted. Sometimes people come by and the office is closed, and my staff's there, and they walk in and they say, oh, I thought you were open. And then they come back when the office is open. So that does happen. But
and they got to realize too, I think people think, when they think of home office, they think you're adjusting people in your living room.
Right.
It's there's a separate door, it's a separate wing. Actually, when you drive up to your place, you can see there's a house there, but your house, the way it's designed, is kind of behind. And so it's a whole separate thing.
Well, it is and it isn't. So the front door you walk through is the same door you would go through to come to the office as it would be if you're coming to have dinner.
That's true.
So that's done with intention, that I want people to feel like they're walking into my house, that it's not just off to the side. At the same time, when you walk in and you go in the office, you're in the office. And I could be in the office serving dozens of people, and Patty could be in the house with our kids when they were younger, or with friends, or at the pool, or sitting on the deck. And you never know when the other existed. So the way the house is laid out is it's very, 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 very clean, what office and what is house.
Separated,
Yeah, so it's done with intention that I want people to feel like they're in my house, but yet the boundaries are there, so you still feel as though you have your private life.
Right.
So that's the nature of it. You got to see it to really get it.
It's amazing. That's for sure.
So that's part of the intention that's there. When we were first in practice, we were not in this space. We were in a space down the street, and that too is a home office. And I guess I felt when we created that, we called it Westwood Family Chiropractic. We wanted to become family, and people felt like it was a family environment and they were part of our family. And as we moved here, where we had more space, we said, let's create community. Didn't change the name, but we tried to create a community of people coming in and living a vital lifestyle, and chiropractic care being at the core essence of that. So
Right.
that's the intention behind it.
Yeah. Now, I think one thing that's interesting here, because I didn't mention this earlier, but I did my externship with Dr. Peter and his wife, and I was there for about 2 months, and so I've seen it all run firsthand. And you mentioned how you can count on your hand the number of times people have come and knocked on your door for an adjustment. And I think that says a lot about how you've been able to educate people. So they're not rushing to you for emergencies. They're coming to you for lifetime care. Whereas if they were coming to you, if you had built a crisis care, medically oriented type office, you'd be having a lot of people knocking on your door at 8 o'clock at night while you're trying to eat dinner or something like that.
Right.
So
yeah, the practice is very much a vital wellness, salutogenic, whatever term you want to use, model of practice. And probably the statistic that I could give that would probably lend the greatest truth to that. A number of our practice, much of our practice, about 83, 84% of the practice is outside their first year of care. So 83 to 84% of the people that I serve are outside their first year of care. So they've been under care at least a year. Nice. We have over 200 people that have been under care for over 20 years.
Wow.
So over 200 people that I see in a week have been under care for over 20 years.
Yeah.
So many of them were babies when they started care, now they're coming in. They're bringing in their babies.
Yeah.
So people come, they stay for a long time.
Well,
my goal is that if people knew what I knew, what we knew, then they're going to do what I would do. I wouldn't let a week go by that I don't get my spine checked and adjusted, needed forever. For my kid, for anybody that I love. So if we can instill that understanding into other people's minds, that they're going to want to do the same thing. So the basic idea is simple, yet the application of it sometimes can get confusing.
Yeah, and I think that maybe, if someone's watching this who has, again, a more medically oriented type office, but wants to make the shift to a more wellness-based office, what are they going to do? How do they do that? You say you want them to know what you know, so what is that?
Okay, so education is the key component of that. Allow people to learn what it is you do. I've spoken to a number of chiropractors who are trying to take an acute care practice and transition it into a vital model or a wellness model. Taking the patients that you have in your practice very often are not the easiest people to do that with, because you sort of sleep in the bed you made. Not that you can't take people who have come to you with an acute care mindset, you didn't educate them, or under care, but to shift the consciousness of somebody who already thinks you do one thing, and you've told them that that's what you do, is also possible. So for people who are trying to transition, focus on your new people who come in, focus on the marketing you do. I'm not saying don't forget about the people that are in your practice, but chances are most people in an acute care practice, 3 months, 6 months from today, those people aren't there.
Yeah.
They've left. And I'm not saying you can't transition them, but that is a harder task than just beginning to take the new people who come in and begin to orient them properly.
Right.
And I believe that orientation, that educational process, is one that starts at day one, continues the entire time that they're in your practice.
Mm-hmm.
So part of it is the dialoguing, the conversations that you have at the table. Part of it is the educational process that you instill. Right. When somebody walks in on day one, very often they're walking in because you have an ache, pain, problem, symptom, disorder, something that they want fixed.
Right.
You need to begin right there at visit number one to begin to open the door for people to recognize that we're not about treating a symptom as much as we are about creating a healthier, more vital body. Right. So it begins at visit number one, reinforces visit number two, coming to workshops. Those are the things that instill this different perspective.
Right. That's I think an encouraging thing for somebody that might have a more symptom-based practice where, okay, you don't want to forget the people you've had in the past, but at the same time, just start with the next person that walks in the door. Start with them one at a time, build it up. And that's why you have 200 people who have been coming to you for 20 years, did you say?
Over 20 years.
Over 20 years. You've done that because just one person at a time. You didn't do it all at once. And there's been this continuous process of educating people.
And realize if every single person who walked in my office got the big idea, right? That 200 number would be into the thousands, right?
Right.
And not everybody is gonna believe and buy into and do that dance. Hell, I know chiropractors that don't buy into the idea of lifetime vitality care. You're bringing in your kids, checking them once a week. Chiropractors who I sat in seats next to them in the same classes who don't buy that idea. So not all patients are going to get it. That's
right.
Human beings.
So not everybody that's walked through your door has started care and is still there. It's amazing. So
no, I'd love to say that, Kevin. Sometimes we hear these speakers and they talk about this and they're promoting this and they're saying this. It's like, hell, if everybody, even Reggie, who's probably one of the best communicators that we've ever had,
right?
If every person who ever started care with Reggie Gold stayed under care, within a couple of years, Reggie couldn't see anybody else.
Exactly.
You'd be working 24/7, 365.
Yeah. Well, then that's what's interesting too, and neat to see and to hear actually how, because when I was there 18 years ago, you guys were seeing about 600 people a week, roughly, more, a few more maybe, but now you're at around 850 to 900. So it's cool to see that a lot of people, when they keep moving forward, there's a point where they start going downhill, and you guys just keep climbing, and it's because you can't help but keep growing because people are getting it. No one's leaving. Well, you know what I mean? People are staying for a long time, and you just keep adding more people to the group.
Well, it's interesting, Kevin. Patty and I were actually talking about this recently. In the past, particularly when you're starting out in practice in your first 10 years, you're like trying to grow. How do we grow? How do we grow? How do we grow? And my mindset, everybody wants to grow. I mean, I believe that's part of life, but I guess I view that what's happened in my practice is the depth of the practice has shifted. I want people for a long time.
Yeah.
In the past, if people came in and they wanted acute care, we take care of them. Then the acute care phase ended, and then they drop out of care. I'd be a little bit more discerning about people who walk in and say, I want a lifetime relationship. And we want, not that we'll ever say no to anybody, but to say, this may not be the right office for you. So just be right up front with that. The clearer that we get in terms of what it is we want, it's sort of like the practice grows as a product of that.
Yeah.
As bizarre as that sounds, it's like the more congruent we are in ourselves and how we express what it is we do, the more that things just tend to flourish.
Sure.
And the naturally right things occur.
So would you say, maybe one way to word that also, again, you've always had a very on purpose mission of what you're trying to offer people, but maybe now you've even narrowed your focus even more in terms of what you're providing and what you're trying to communicate to people?
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah. And so you got that mission going now where it's just, hey, this is who we are, this is what we do, and you've always been that way, but just more so now. And
you get cleaner and cleaner. When we first started in practice, a simple example, I didn't like any of the case history forms that I got from other practitioners. They said, what's your chief complaint?
Yeah.
I don't ask about a chief complaint, So I always said, reason for consulting the office. So we created all of our paperwork to be congruent with who we were. Well, we change it every couple of years. It's like, oh no, that doesn't work for us anymore.
right.
We get better and better in terms of articulating, communicating your idea, your perspective. I grow. I don't see chiropractic the same way today that I did even 5 years ago. The values are the same, the intention is the same, but my understanding of the nervous system, the ability of the nervous system to adapt and organize is at a whole different level today than it was even 5 years ago. So as I change, Patty changes, that consciousness shifts in the practice.
Nice.
And if I could also put that, I want to add a comment to that, to the more senior people that may be watching this. I'm not saying old, senior.
Experience.
Yeah. I know a number of practitioners who've been in practice 30, 40 years. And these practitioners are being extremely challenged in practice. Some of them don't have two nickels to rub together.
Yeah.
That they're hurting financially. I believe that we need to continuously feed and nurture our practice. When we're first in practice, we're thinking about, how do you lay out the office? What are your forms? How do you communicate? You're working and creating your procedures, and your practice gets going. Times change over 20, 30, 40 years. The language changes. people's values and structure of how they live their lives change. How we listen to music. I mean, back when I first started in practice, I remember playing cassettes in the office. I don't know if you said they're like this big. You put them in a little machine, you push the button, you can play.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
No, I had 8-track still when I was little.
Well, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Now we listen to them on an iPod, or we do Pandora, or some digital means. The music is the same, but how we deliver the music is different.
Yes.
The music of chiropractic is the same, but how we package it and deliver it needs to shift and change. And that's, I believe, one of the reasons why senior practitioners oftentimes find themselves struggling. I'm not saying you need to recreate yourself, but you need to continually stay current and aware in terms of what the needs are of the culture, how to communicate to the culture, your profession. Sometimes chiropractors are really good at isolating themselves. They graduate,
right?
They go into the little practice, and they feel victim to the world. And I guess what you want to do is build success in all parts of your life. You need to stay connected to your profession, stay connected into the community, the needs of the community. Enough said about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot right there. I mean, so the main thing that I hear there is just, it never stops. And it shouldn't. You shouldn't want it to. You want to always keep getting better. So you're plugged into different things, seminars, groups, whatever it might be, but you're always learning. So one thing there, so how would you say you have packaged things differently today than even, say, 10 years ago, 18 years ago? What's one example?
Great question. When we first started in practice, when somebody would come in on visit number one, we would almost minimize the symptom that brought them into the office.
Okay.
And say,
don't want to hear that.
That symptom isn't important. Let me talk to you about subluxation. And one of the things that I've realized is that the more somebody feels heard, the more available they are going to be to listening to my story.
Right.
And the culture is really in that space right now. Look at we're communicating miles apart and being able to see one another, and then recording this and bringing it out to people. There is the means by which we communicate.
Yeah.
And the means by which we engage in delivering information has shifted and changed on a certain level. And I found that the more people feel heard, particularly today, the greater the likelihood that they're going to hear my message.
Yeah.
That in the past, the doctor had this level of authority, that the doctor said something, I'm going to do what the doctor says. Now it's much more on a level playing field.
Sure.
And I think this is a good thing, because it shouldn't be this, particularly the essence of our philosophy. We're trying to empower people from the inside out, that we want them to express who they are, that the power resides in them, not in us, right? So to develop that level of intimacy and relationship, I think it's critical that the person has an opportunity to discharge and to feel heard. And I'm also going to bring that to a physiological model. When the body creates a symptom, it is the cells of the body communicating to the conscious mind of that person. And our culture tends to minimize that. Oh, turn it off, take this chemical, don't listen to it, work through it, no pain, no gain. All those mindsets are, don't listen to the body. So they come into a healthcare practitioner full of fear that they have a condition, but they want to minimize that condition.
Right.
So I don't want to set that as the focus, but I do want the person to listen to their body. And I'll model that by really listening to them. So we are spending more time today talking about the symptom and what brings them in. And I said, well, when do you think your body was starting to talk to you? And they'll actually be able to go back 10, 20, sometimes 30 years and to say, the body's been giving you information for 30 years that it's wanted you to listen to. The cells of our body are like our children. I said, when they talk to us, we need to listen and not ignore them.
Sure.
So I want the person to appreciate that. And then the other factor that I want to do is, what is that involvement keeping you from in your life? Well, I can't get on the floor and play with my grandkids. I can't run the marathon anymore. I can't do whatever it is. And I said, so rather than us focusing on getting rid of your sciatica, getting rid of the headache, getting rid of something, let's give something back to your life. So the whole focus becomes in what can we give you? And what we're going to give you is pieces of your life back.
Sure.
Let's explain how that happens. Okay. You realize that being free of pain isn't the issue, but your body working right is the issue. Isn't that true?
Yes,
And most people be in agreement. They said, my body's working right, then I'm going to be able to do the marathons and getting on the floor and going to work and having the energy. I said, let's talk about how your body works, which then becomes the connector of us explaining the brain, the spinal cord, the nervous system. If this system is working, you can control and coordinate the function of everything in your body and allow your body to work properly. So then you bridge the gap to subluxation, and not to build a subluxation condition.
Right.
That in the past, what I might have done is that, oh, you have the sciatic condition. No, you really have the subluxation condition. What we're really beginning to do is your body has been talking to you. Your body has been giving you information. You have been listening. I said, let's get you to listen to your body, and let's get your body to function better. Let's get it to work better. And then that then bridges that gap. We explain the phenomena of what's going on with the subluxation, and explain how that subluxation phenomenon is existing inside their body. And then you just ask them the question, you think the body is going to be better off with good nerve energy or bad nerve energy?
Right.
I say good nerve energy. And then if you take x-rays and you show them the x-rays and you show them how functionally it's not working, I said, do you think that a pill is going to fix that? Yeah. Do you think that stretching can realign that? Can exercise do that? Physical therapy? No. The only way you're going to do that is to take pressure off the nerves, let the brain and the body start talking to each other better, and the body is going to know what to do with the structure and to align it for you. So it's an educational process that starts in visit 1, visit 2, right, and then builds over time.
That's fantastic. So there's a lot there again. I love the idea, because I think a lot of people who maybe view your style of practice, my style of practice from the outside, they think, well, those guys, because we don't treat the symptom or focus on that we never address it. So it's important to realize that, no, we want to hear what you have going on, but here's what we're going to do for that. And it's a whole different consciousness of, excuse me, of rather than taking away a problem, you're adding something to their life, which is a huge difference in the whole way.
I remember listening to Reggie Gold back when I was in chiropractic school, and he would take their case history form that the person filled out,
put it aside,
rip it in front of them, right? No, he actually ripped it.
I didn't see that part.
He said, I don't need this. I'm going to tell you what's wrong with you. and I believe 30 years ago, absolutely that worked. And you know what? It can still work today with somebody who's got the personal power to make that work. It's not my style. It's not my style, and so I never ripped up their history form. Yeah. So I would do it with my words. I put it to the side. But I've shifted to say, well, this information here, but this information, more of it is for you than it is for me.
Yeah.
And so let's bring it back and give them a context to understand it. We don't treat conditions in the practice, but yet I want people to understand their physiology. Mm-hmm. I believe once people understand the magnificence and the brilliance of their physiology, that they become empowered to make their own decisions.
Sure.
So oftentimes when people say, what do you think is here? I just bring it right back to them. What do you think your body's trying to tell you? And I just through reasoning and questioning, they very often can uncover and discover what's going on with their bodies and why their body is talking to them, what they may need to change or shift in their lives, or possibly other caregivers that they need to consult with. Yeah. They realize chiropractic isn't the answer to everything. What chiropractic is an answer for is a nervous system to function optimally. Yeah. A nervous system being without interference. That doesn't mean you don't need to ever go to any other caregiver in your life.
Right. Again, I love that, because that's just the simple logic of it, where, we're not assuming the role of that medical doctor authoritative position where we want to knock them down so we can be that. And we're letting people know, and you said it in your explanation there, that you might give a person on their first visit how this problem isn't going to be solved through exercise or diet or physical therapy. Where at the same time, doesn't mean you can't do those things. We just don't do that here. You can do that, fine, but you still need to make sure you have a healthy nervous system, because that's what's control. That's the main thing that we're doing here. The thing we're doing here. So there's a lot of important things that a person can take away from that maybe wants to, again, make that shift into a more objective, straight practice, or more wellness focused practice, are those things. But I think a lot of times too, chiropractors, and I'm sure you've run into this, where they think, again, they have these misconceptions about maybe our style of practice, where we're against physical therapy, we're against doing nutrition or that kind of stuff, not against any of that. I'm not against medicine even. There's a time and place for that even. But here's what we do here. If you want it, no matter what else you decide to do in your life, you still have to have a healthy nervous system.
Amen.
Simple as that. So, with your practice now, like I mentioned, when I was there 18 years ago, 600 plus people a week. Now you're 900 plus people a week. What would you say are some of the things that, obviously education, but maybe some personal things that you do to sustain that success over the long haul? Because it's amazing for anybody to hit 900 visits a week, but a lot of chiropractors do it and they crash. They can't maintain it like you've done over these, 30 plus years.
So I think there are two levels to that, Kevin. I think one level is continuing to work on your systems in your practice and having efficient systems, and you do that with your team. If I do everything in the practice, I could never do it all.
Right.
So to continually work with team and empower them to support the machinery, if you will, of the practice, allow the operations to become smoother and more congruent, consistent. One simple thing is actually rather dramatic. I think when you were here, were we an open concept?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that was a major shift that occurred to going from closed doors to an open concept. That shifted the practically a huge jump there at that point. I mean, we were seeing probably about 400 visits a week, and that jumped well over 500, 600 visits a week. That I attribute to that was a big shift. Made much more efficiency in the systems.
Okay.
Chiropractors have many snags in their efficiency of systems, and I believe that if you work to creating greater and greater degrees of efficiency, it allows you to see more and more people. One of the things that we've done a few times, I think we did the last time we did it was a couple of years ago, is, and I'll mention this to chiropractors, is take a day and stack the day with as many people as you possibly can. And you may want to take out of the equation your new patients and your special
just adjustments.
Just adjust and push that day beyond what you think you might be able to do by 10, 20%. Okay, so you actually schedule in that day more than you can. And you work on it as a team and you get ready for it. And the whole purpose of it is not to stress your life, but to see where are the linchpins? What were the snags? What created the problems in practice? Is it the lady your little old lady who comes in who, has to talk about every complaint that she's got in her body, right?
Yeah.
Or is it the older guy who comes in with the walker who feels as though he's got to empty out everything and doesn't do any of that stuff until they're called up to the table?
I thought I just had those people in my office.
Or it could be closing out at the front desk. Having people make multiple appointments. Although we've always made multiple appointments, we're almost obsessive about it. Once the person has gotten a report of findings, and if your recommendations are for a year of care, and you've outlined what the program of care for a year, go to the front desk and make a year's worth of appointments. Okay, it's amazing how much time to make one appointment does not take that long.
Sure.
But if you multiply that by 60, 70, 80, 100 visits that may come in that first year, that's a lot of energy units for that staff person. And
right.
Time is going to have to happen. And God forbid that person doesn't make an appointment, doesn't make their next appointment, and they walk out the door, then the CA's got to go track them down, find them. So find the things in procedure that seem to be the snags, and then work at smoothing them out. And sometimes you'll hit a snag and say, I don't know how to deal with this one.
Yeah.
So you call your friends.
Yeah.
You get on the phone. I call Kevin Wilmot, or I talk to another practitioner who has a similar style practice that I do, or people call me. So you work to creating what's the greatest way to gain efficiency in your practice so that you can sustain. The other piece of it, I believe, are personal rituals, and I believe that. And I've been reading a great book. Don't ask me the name, but it really. Very often we feel as though we need disciplines, and the book reframes it from disciplines to rituals. When something becomes a ritual, you do it every day. You do it all the time, okay?
Yeah.
You're brushing your teeth. Isn't a discipline, it's a ritual, right?
Sure.
You're putting on clothes. It's not a discipline, it's a ritual. We all have rituals. That if you create rituals within your life, that you hang on to them. And very often it starts by being disciplined to do something. But once it's embedded in terms of your life, then that impacts your life, and it's not a stress in your life.
Right.
When you have to feel disciplined to go to the gym, that's sort of like there's a stress. Oh, I got to go do that so I get the product that I want. But if it becomes a ritual, every day you work out for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, that's just part of your life.
Part of life, yeah.
So the more that you ritualize things within your life, the less energy units have to go toward figuring out what you need to do in your life.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So
what's an application in the office?
What's that?
What would be an application of that?
First, personally, I think we all need rituals, Peter's rituals, to get up in the morning, to hold a space of gratitude.
Okay.
Every day. That's just what it is. My intentions are, what am I grateful for within my life? And not just the pleasant things, family, practice, teaching, but the challenges. The challenges are the more I am in gratitude for the challenges and the gifts that they're giving me, the things that I'm learning, not that I like them, but the more that I hold that space of gratitude, the quicker I move through them.
Got it.
Because just what's a time every day for exercise, a time every day to read something positive, to fill your mind. So those are my personal rituals that I have. In the practice, my rituals are, before I start the day, is to actually see my day. Okay, so I'll actually look through the appointment book, see who's going to come in, any special visits that are going to be there, new people who are going to come in, to know the name of the person who's going to be coming in, who referred that person.
Yeah.
Although those seem like small things, but those are my rituals every day, so that I stay intimately connected. The day that I stop viewing my patients as the priority is the day my practice is going to tank. Right? So it's not about numbers, not about number of visits. It's not about statistics. Yes, those are barometers and measures of your practice, but those aren't the goals. The number of people I see in a day is not the goal.
Right.
Okay? The goal of the day is to connect with people and to make it about people. So I'll run through my day. I take a moment every morning as I come into the office to connect with my staff person. It's really easy. She's turning on computers, putting the lights on, greeting people, doing stuff. It's really easy. Good morning, Paula, and just go in and just take that few moments and connect with her. Show gratitude and appreciation for her being there at 6 in the morning, so I can be there to serve that early. All the pieces of practice she holds together, and I do it again my afternoon shift, to the staff person, just to come into that space of connection with my team. So those are some of the rituals.
That's awesome. And I can just say from a personal experience standpoint too on that, how you said the numbers aren't the goal, and I know that's true for you, but they are just the result of what you've just spoke about there. And when I was doing my externship there, I think I've told you this before, but for the people who haven't seen this or heard this, is when I was there, I was asking people coming in, why do they come here? Why do you go here? Because a lot of those people were driving a long way. They're coming, from Boston and these long distances where they're passing easily a few dozen chiropractors. And without fail, like I asked probably half a dozen people that question. And they all told me, some in the exact words, but in some variation of this, they'd say, I don't feel like a number here. And I think a person who would, again, be maybe critical of this style of practice at first, you're just running people through. It's just this mill. You don't even know anybody. You don't know anything about them. But that was why they were coming there, because they felt that connection with you. And then I asked you one time, I don't know if you remember this or not, but because, again, at his office, I don't know if you still do this, but when I was there, you just had the one high-low table. You had two tables there, but you had the one. You just stood there and up and down all day long. And I asked you at lunch one time, I'm like, why don't you use the other tables? And you're like, well, I want to make sure I can look the person in the eye before they lay on the table. And so those things are just so telling of everything what you just said. This isn't just lip service. This is actually being done. This is what's really going on there. So I think that's something people should be aware of and know.
Well, so relative to numbers, I know I could see more people in a day if everybody was lying on the table.
Yeah.
And I came up to them and they were lying on the table, prone. But to speak to that point, I want to look at that person in the eye for multiple reasons. One, it gives me data. It gives me data. How are they doing? How are they being as a person? If you could see somebody who's in a state of grief, in a state of over fatigue, in a state of feeling unsupported or loved. So I feel as though I can connect with their soul and their spirit in a way
Yeah.
that I can't just with my hands.
Right.
So I like that. I like to see them come up to this table. I like to greet them. Plus, they see me. You know, they're seeing who I am as a being, as a person.
Yeah.
I believe that there is a degree of intimacy in the work that we do that I don't like to. I want to engage in that as deeply as possible.
Right.
How and why a person may choose to do that becomes a personal choice. Some chiropractors don't want that, don't need that.
Yeah.
I like connecting very deeply and intimately with people.
Yeah.
I believe that's part of what creates long-term relationships.
I believe so too, and
I spend most of my day at one table. As another side to that, and I figured this out a few years ago. By me staying at one table, people move in and out of my space, rather than me moving in and out of their space. And that can be exhausting. When I'm going into somebody's space and then I have to leave, some people are going to think that I'm really crazy saying this, but that is an energy sucker. Okay?
Right.
And you know this if you practice in rooms all the time, because you're going into a space and then you got to leave, and that leaving part is sometimes a hard thing because that person wants to hang on to you, right?
True. Yeah.
They ask you questions or energetic. It's even energetic, even a practical thing. Even in an open concept, if you're leaving a person, it's like, I'm done with you. I'm going to go serve somebody else. But now, when I'm done, they're getting up and they're leaving.
Yes.
So, like, they're leaving my space. I'm just staying there. Let's have a party. Oh, okay. You're done.
Right. Right.
They're leaving. There's no work for me. I get to stay there.
Yeah.
As bizarre as that sounds.
No, I understand 100%. And the cool thing is too, again, in your office, again, people imagine 900 people a week. It's just this chaotic thing, but it's a very relaxed. There's a lot of things happening, but you're just calm. You're not rushed. You're not hurried. It's this very almost like dance. It's very artistic thing happening, and I think it's neat that I wish everyone could see it. But just trust me, it's just very calm, and it's a very this relaxed environment that way, which a lot of people wouldn't think would happen if you're seeing that many people each week. So, but anyway, I think we'll wrap it up there. There's a lot of information there that I think people can watch this video about 5 times over and get a lot from what you just said there. So I appreciate you taking some time, and maybe we can do this again in the future and
awesome.
Keep sharing information. So thanks so much, Peter. Appreciate you.
Thank you for doing it.
Yeah.
Fire on, brother. Thank you.
Right.
Bye-bye.